It's Friday, October 1st, and you, my friend, are listening to The Drive. Hey, Catherine. Oh, wait a minute. You're not Catherine. Where the hell is Catherine? And why am I staring at Ollie Whitfield? Or apparently, looking at your shirt, I'm staring at Jack. So I'm just confused.
It's all too much for you, isn't it? It's all far too much. End of quarter, end of week. This is going to be a hard show. I'm going to be carrying you through this one.
I just went through a tough quarter. That's behind me. Thank God. Start of Q4. But I'm at that blissful moment of time where I have just a couple days where I can just pretend that quota doesn't exist while we, rebuild our closed sales. And so, it's Friday. Thank God. That's all I got to say. Ollie Whitfield, my friend, live and in person, not a tape recording. No, will you be ranting today? If you're live in person, will there be a rant today from you? Like, how does that work?
I'm not going to tell you. We'll find out when we get to
it. Even Ollie can make me laugh occasionally. All right. So why don't we get this party started, kids? Oh, you've been very patient waiting for us to get through our normal banter. This, if you don't know it, is The Drive, the only news show on the internet that really looks at the last week of what's going on in the world of B2B, who's got money, who's hiring, who's firing, who's gone bankrupt, who's disappeared, who's partnering, who's releasing what new software, what drama is going on, what gossip is in play. It's the all-around news and entertainment show. And that's it. And the whole premise, if you ever wonder why we call it The Drive, it's because the theory was you would listen to us on your drive home. But, of course, with everybody working from home, perhaps we could have named it better. So there we go. That's The Drive. We always like to start off with the road ahead. Sometimes we call this the week ahead. Sometimes we call it the road ahead. It all depends on what I'm saying, what I have in my notes in front of me. And this week, we've decided to call it the road ahead. Why? Because there is not taking place next week, but around the corner, Europe's leading marketing, sales, B2B tech stack event, 16th and 17th of November at the Excel Center in London. The Excel Center in London, which, by the way, if you've never been there, it's freaking huge. It's the B2B Marketing Expo. So you need to go there, folks. You can find that out at b2bmarketingexpo.co.uk, United Kingdom. Total sidebar. Is the United Kingdom a country or is it a collection of countries? I just don't know. Just throwing it out there. And anyway, they clarify that it to be Europe's leading marketing event, connecting the most proactive marketing professionals with the tools, techniques, and innovations they need to be at the forefront of the ever-evolving world of marketing. And what I love about this is right underneath that on the website, boom, our safety measures. They just hit it up. The marketer in me says, well done. Big, bold, physical distancing, cleaning and hygiene, protect and detect, and lots of communication. And they've got a killer speaker lineup, of which it is possible, maybe even probable, that I myself will be speaking there. Ollie, did you know that I will be speaking there at this event?
No, I did. Tell me more. This is such a coincidence that this found its way into the notes today.
It's crazy. I'll be speaking at the event. Yes, I will. Check it out. That's all I'm going to say to you. You can check it out. I'm not going to give you more. You have to go to b2bmarketingexpo.co.uk. But I will tell you this. We have been at this show several years in a row. It is a dynamite show. It is jam-packed. I love the way they set it up. I'm actually looking forward. This will be my second live event of the year, the first one being the Outbound Conference back in June. So for me in Canada, first going to the States, now going to the UK, it's all interesting. And I'm understanding we're allowed in now because Canada is now on the green list in the UK. Hopefully that holds. It's still the case when we actually fly over there in November. And we were always wondering if mixed doses, and for those Americans going, what does he mean by mixed doses? It was several countries around the world, if you're not aware of this, didn't have a great supply of vaccines. And so what they did was mixed doses. And so, for example, in my case, my first dose of the vaccine was the AstraZeneca vaccine. Coming, if you don't know, by the way, that was created out of Oxford in the United Kingdom. So there we go. Just little kudos to them. And then my second dose was Moderna. So that's a mixed dose, and which means I do not have 2 doses of Moderna or 2 doses of Pfizer or, whatever. And so mixed doses are not recognized by everybody at this moment in time as being vaccinated. But that's changed apparently in the UK. Now it's just I'm a green country, and when I get there, I need to immediately test. And as long as I come back negative, I get to go and play. So that's very exciting. So that's the Marketing Expo. And I believe, Ollie, you promised me beer and a steak dinner that you were paying for when I go over there. Is that not correct?
I did. And I thought that you would forget. I'm surprised, horrified. I best get saving.
There we go. All right. So that's the road ahead. Let's get into our next one, which is money, money, money. All right. I love this one. So as you folks probably guessed, right? So we have show notes that we pulled together. We pulled the news together all week long. And I have to give credit here. Ollie is the primary author of all these little stories. And we pitch in, we throw him stuff when we see it here and there. And sometimes he listens to us, sometimes he ignores us. But so if you're ever wondering why something makes the air, it's because of Ollie. Now, the only way Ollie gets shut down on his proposed talking points is if I make an executive decision to skip a story or to introduce a new one on the fly without telling him. And I do that from time to time. I know. And it really, he's never said anything. So that's good. But what's so funny about this one, it's a pipeline monitoring system, Excel data. That's one word, Excel, ACCEL. Excel data as an accelerate. They raised $35 million, $35 million in a Series B from Insight Partners, very good partner. And that comes on the heels of an $8.5 million Series A they did a year ago, last October. And so they've got some great names there. They're only 3 years old. They're founded in 2018. But here's where it gets interesting, okay? And I'm going to go back to Ollie in a second, all right? So Excel data, they offer, I'm quoting here, they offer observability across data quality, data pipelines, do not confuse that with sales pipelines, and system infrastructure in real time via its artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. They call themselves an integrated data observability solution. And it helps enterprises transform their data systems from unreliable, hard to scale, and expensive to stable, agile, and cost efficient. Wow, that's a lot of words. Ollie, can you tell me what that means and what they do?
I cannot. And this is the thing that I find so funny about these things. I have a quote from the CEO inside the press release. I won't read the whole thing. It's kind of similar to what you just said. And it is also quite long, but they're just funny, these things. I'm not the PR guru here, so don't shoot the messenger, but I never understand what these things mean. And it's, we're at change management, cloud-based, and you're like, what is it? I still don't know. And if I read through some of this quote from the CEO, it's typical PR, red taped and all of that type of thing. It's really cut down to a paragraph about not a lot, in my opinion. But what I don't get is, so this is in TechCrunch, this article that we're reading from. It's from SaaSindustry.com. But think of it as TechCrunch. I feel like saying, read the room a little bit. I don't understand specifically what this company does in great detail. I can make an educated guess. But if I don't, and I'm researching this stuff every single week for this show, and we're talking about it every week, what do other people reading TechCrunch think? They probably haven't got a clue. And therefore you're missing out a little bit there on what could have been. I could have made a little bit more of this, but I do find these things quite funny. It's such a jargon heavy, big to do about nothing in these quotes. They don't just say, like, we're really excited to dominate the sales space or something like that. It has to be AI, cloud-based productivity, and you're like, oh man, I need to lay down, help.
What I think it does is it's just monitoring all the data in your various systems from source to consumption. So a source could be a database. Who knows? Could be at rest or could be in motion, right? And rest means it's just sitting there on the database, or motion means it's could be moving from, a web server to a client cross country in somebody's mobile phone or an app or what have you. So there you go. And it's just looking at the data, and then it's monitoring, is that data being consumed? In other words, are people using the apps that use the data? Is there issues with the data? And it gives you some insights on data quality, potential data issues, so that you can fix things. That's my extreme leap of what it does. I look at I actually went to their website because I was trying to figure out what the hell they do. I've had this before many, many times, where, to your point, Ollie, the press release or the news article, which is just usually based on the press release, they never actually talk to anybody, it's full of so much jargon that they literally have no clue. And so, but if you go to the website, often they'll do a better job. Now, the one thing, the website did not help me at all, except they have a big ass graphic in the middle of their homepage that kind of made me understand what I think it is they do. But if you use it, Ollie, you can claim 300% higher data engineering productivity. 300%, apparently. Okay, data engineering. I don't know what data engineering is. I know what computer engineering is. I know what civil engineering is. I have no idea what data engineering is. 20% application development being faster. 90% fewer data-related incidents. Okay, that I start to understand. 30% lower application development costs because of better data? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what they do, but they just got $35 million. But I do want to know this. You said read the room. When they went to pitch all these venture capitalists and equity investors about their solution, what was the deck looking like? Because if it looked anything like this, I'm more impressed or shocked with the investors than I am with the company themselves. Anyway, that's your lesson for the day, folks. Check them out. Excel Data. There you go. All right. Next up, we got Connexium. Am I saying that right, Ollie? Connexium?
I have no idea. I was just about to commend you on a really good attempt. I was going to spell it because I'm not sure how to begin on that.
So it's Connexium, if I'm saying it right, not to be confused with connection. See, the latter, the word ends with the letter N, like Nancy. But in the former, it ends with the letter M, like Mary. Connexium. They raised $130 million in growth investment from Warburg Pincus. And again, another good investment. And this one, much easier, folks. What does Connexium do? All right, I can help you out with that. They are a SaaS provider for sales order and invoice automation. Just full stop right there. Boom, done. So you sell something, products, services, you got to document that all up. That's your sales order. And then you want to get paid. So you got to send an invoice. So you're thinking to yourself, well, doesn't a lot of ERP systems and stuff do that already? And the answer is, well, yeah. But a lot of these companies would be smaller companies. They may not have massive infrastructure. And therefore, you think about your small business. Intuit, for example, has got a lot of little apps for small independent consultants, contractors to invoice and collect payment and process against a credit card. Same concept. FreshBooks, another Canadian company, same premise. So this guy's Connexium. It looks like they serve a slightly different customer. They're big time in B2B, but especially areas like manufacturing and distributors. So again, a lot of these can be small, specialized companies, and they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the dedicated IT resources. So this is huge. And this is on the heels of generating $40 million in private equity last July. So there you go. They had an equity investment, which usually means there's an ownership stake taken. And then they get $130 million in growth investment. And Those are different investors. So there you go. I think it's telling you that the investment community sees a long-term requirement for companies to invoice and get paid. So from procurement to payment. Any comments on this one, or is this kind of straightforward there, Ollie?
I think that's reasonably straightforward, but I did not hear about the 40 million prior to the 130. So that's something. Like I knew that some of these really, really, really big ones were massive, like the Intuits and so on. They're like, they could be billions, but I had no idea types of company like this could be that big. But I suppose in a sense, it's like the Salesforce app exchange. If Salesforce is that big, the ones underneath and around it probably going to be quite big too. But the number did surprise me there a little bit, I have to say.
I agree. Now, this next one is really kind of interesting. This is our last one of money. A company called Motiv, M-O-T-I-V, F-O-R.
There's some good names on this
Motiv.
week, isn't there? There's some very odd left field ones.
Yeah, once you understand what they do, the name is actually kind of intriguing. So they've got just a seed round, a $6 million seed round. And this one's interesting. In a nutshell, what Motiv does is provides enterprises with real-time predictive intelligence on customer intent as users or perhaps prospects or both interact with applications and forms. So think about that one. If, let's say somebody's bopping around, a user of VanillaSoft is bopping around in VanillaSoft, I could see theoretically, because of Motiv, based on their interactions with the application, that maybe they may be a candidate for a certain feature that we have that's comes at an additional cost. And I could use that intent signal to then reach out to them and say, hey, Billy Bob, I was thinking about you the other day, and I'm thinking you might be a candidate for feature X. Are you familiar with feature X? Let me show you the feature X. And lo and behold, they sign up for an additional few bucks on feature X. So talk about easy money to grow your existing install base, that's a compelling business case. Because that's the lowest cost. If you're going to help me have my reps hyper-focus on my existing clients that are the most likely to land and expand. Well, we've already landed, so expand. And you can point me where they're probably wanting to expand or, upsell or what have you. Dang, sign me up. Now, the marketers, though, because the marketers don't care about what I just described. But if I can say to you, listen, all those form completions you get, you gate a few pieces of content or whatever it might be. Whatever it is you're gating, there's a form submission required. It could even be the form is simply saying contact me or get us a demo or what have you. That above and beyond that information, I can actually tell you this is what they're probably really wanting. This is probably what brought them to you. And that's how I would engage them, either with your marketing and nurturing or with your sales engagement messaging. Again, so now I can increase my conversions by having hyper-personalized messaging and conversations, and subsequently increase my cost of acquisition. Decrease my customer acquisition costs, decrease my CAC. Because of that, because then I have shorter sales cycles, which means I have more velocity. Again, sign me up. That's my comments. You're the marketer here, Ollie. Talk to me.
I'm reading part of it. So the new funds will be used to fill senior positions in tech, product, and sales in preparation for an expected 700% growth by the end of the year. So what is it? October. A couple months left. So obviously they're either a heck of a long way towards that goal, or it's a ridiculous goal, or they mean the fiscal year, but I doubt that. I would assume it's end of calendar year. So they have done something crazy in growth if they're going to hit that. That's unbelievable. Normally we hear 30%, 100%, or 50% or something year over year. 700. Right, okay. I'll bet my house that I don't do 700 next year, but I would love to see it. But the premise sounds really cool, and it sounds like it could be used in a lot of things, like you were describing, a whole different way of it. Almost sounds a bit like what's the word for it? But Inside of marketing automation systems, you can sometimes personalize content for people visiting the website and so on based on what you know of their previous history with you. It sounds a little bit like that, except a little bit more advanced. And across the app itself, if you have an app, not just a website. So this could be pretty cool.
I mean, it's basically another form of intent data, right? Or another play on intent data, which is really kind of compelling. When intent data works, it's very cool. The problem is with intent data is quite often it's sending you down a complete rat hole with false positives. So intent data,
and that's the thing where it's called artificial or predictive intelligence. You accept a degree of inaccuracy, but
yeah,
part of these things I always believe it when you hear it's like it's AI, it's all this, and you're like, really? Is it not just a really really good Excel formula somehow or another? I mean, I suck at Excel. I couldn't do it, but I'm a bit like, is there really a machine that's learning, like a robot going, oh, actually, today it's going to be this way, not that way? I don't believe it.
With artificial intelligence or machine learning, what most people don't understand because they're not computer engineers is it's math. It's an algorithm. And math requires a massive sample size to draw substantiated and validated conclusions or predictions. So in this case, if you don't have a high volume of form submissions, maybe you have, let's be crazy. Let's say you have 100 a month. Some people would kill for that. Some people would laugh at that. But let's say that's what you have. Your sample size ain't going to be nearly big enough for at least 1 to 2 years before it can start drawing some reliable, robust inferences on what the intent probably is. And people get PO'd that when 3 or 6 months later after implementing it, they've seen no ROI, but a lot of false positives. Well, again, it comes down to sample size. So artificial intelligence needs big ass volumes of data. And if you don't have the traffic or the engagement level, then it ain't going to work. Now, on an app with you have, thousands of users hammering your system every day, then it won't take long to get to what you need for a sample size there. All right. There we go. That's that. Ollie, we're up to corporate affairs. Oh, wait a minute. Ollie, I can't help but notice corporate affairs is blank in our show notes today. Has there been no affairs taking place in corporate?
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, I've scoured the internet. There probably was something here or there, but...
Well, then let's skip that altogether. Let's go to water cooler talk. Besides, water cooler talk is way more fun anyway. Ollie, we may have talked about this last week. There's some show called Sasters. Was that on? Did that take place? Did I miss something?
Oh, yeah. I totally have not seen that every 4 seconds on my social feeds. Picture of this, picture of that. But it looks like it was good. And it looks like, I don't know what the weather is like in San Francisco, but it looks like they had a beautiful, beautiful couple of days in the sun, all outside. Looked like a good time. But as I look outside, it's cold, it's dark. I'm wearing 2 blankets. It's that cold. I'm finding it hard to picture it, but I'm sure it was a great time.
Well, I love Ollie's comment here in the show notes. I totally have not been bombarded by posts about this and seeing 19,000 pictures from it. 19,000, eh, Ollie?
Specifically, not one more, not one less.
Twitter this week, there was an interesting discussion initiated indirectly by Amy Wallace about her annoyance with gated content and how just enough already, stop gating it, it's wrong. Okay. So, as you might imagine, Ollie, there were some people high-fiving her because that's what happens in the social tribes. Everybody high-fives the influencers.
Yeah. Well, I would guess there was a fair few people who thought differently.
And I was one of them. Now, here's what's interesting. Only later on did I learn, and this was never shared online, that she was frustrated because she went to TechCrunch and wanted an article and it was gated. That matters. Right. So the conversation though didn't have that context around gating. And of course I went on there and I said, there's a time and a place for gated content. Agreed. Most of it should not be gated. It's all about driving inbound traffic, et cetera. And you should have compelling call to actions on your website and all that kind of stuff. But I said, high value content like research takes time, takes effort, and more than anything, takes money to produce. And it is not unreasonable for a marketer to request a simple email address in exchange for that research. Not unreasonable at all. And I said, and above and beyond that, every sales rep I know is constantly begging for more inbound leads from marketing. Constantly. And the only way you get those leads is through gated content. Otherwise, it's just some person, anonymous person, downloading your content, and therefore it's not a lead. I mean, you can cookie them. If they come back again, you can try to message them, but you know nothing about them. But the gated content, you do. And that led to a whole conversation from other marketers saying, no, you should never have it because you should only be having your sales force chase qualified stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, duh. That's why you have a marketing qualified lead in an MQL process, and that's why you pass it off. You do not pass them stuff that's not marketing qualified. You nurture them. So Amy and a few others took a different point of view. But Amy was also very gracious and educated a number of people saying your point that you should only be chasing qualified stuff from inbound from marketing and not doing outbound, not getting anything is wrong because that's how enterprise selling works. And if you don't do it, you're leaving money on the table. So it was a very interesting conversation. I knew I was having success when I had Mike Weinberg like my combat. Here's a rock star salesperson who I only interact with casually. And he loved it. I had a number of other people love my comment. The comment, again, was there's time and a place, that comment. So overall, the consensus was in agreement with me, but there was a lot of back and forth. So here's my setup. That was the conversation. This is where I get annoyed, Ollie. Why is it marketers are asked to not gate anything because that's disruptive to your buyer? That's friction. However, salespeople are more than welcome to cold call you and interrupt your day as much as possible. I just want to know, why is one allowed but not the other? To me, it screams that sales doesn't understand marketing when I see those comments. And it's amazing how many sales reps' heads get twisted when I share that point of view because they just don't understand the correlation. That's me. What do you think, Ollie?
Lack of common sense across the board. I'm so tired of these debates. They're so what's the word? They're so polarizing, and it's easy to get really passionate about one side or the other, and it makes a whole lot of noise, and a whole lot of people get sucked into this black hole of debate, which ultimately leads to nothing. And we all waste our time because we're all going to go about what we're doing anyway. But I believe in gated content, not in everything being gated. My webinars will most likely always be gated until that becomes not the way to do it. I think if I do an ebook, possibly it's gated, maybe just by email, not like tell me your name and address and your shoe size and all that kind of stuff. That gets silly. But yeah, I just find it amazing. It's, well, what do you want? If I can't give you my, here's the email address of someone that downloaded a thing, you're going to get, and I have had this as a salesperson and a marketer. Oh, look, we had Facebook Inc. come to our website. Looks like a really good prospect. Let's go after them. They're from the San Antonio office, and they're a marketing mid-level manager. Go to Sales Navigator on LinkedIn. Put in that office. Put in works for Facebook. Guess how many there were? 5,500. So which one did I approach? I didn't, right? So, at some point you have to get something. And request a demo is no different. It's no different. And that's literally the best thing that you can get as a salesperson. So these debates, people waste all their time thinking about it so much, and then they don't just experiment on their own stuff. It's amazing.
Now, going back to TechCrunch, it's a media property. They're going to give us some free content, and then they would ideally like you to pay for a subscription, etc. It's how they make their money. And we get annoyed that we have to give an email address so we can get that content we want that they offered up when that's their business model. But we want our prospects to pay full pop for our software or our services. That's the point that I found so interesting. So there we go.
I think really the last piece of it is it's really about if every single time you signed up to a gated piece of content, you had a great experience with the follow-up and it was all super useful. Not even from a sales rep. If it was like you always get entered into their marketing list, don't you? And you always get the newsletter and you're like, what the hell is this? It's crappy stuff and I'm not really interested. It was slightly a side topic that I was researching anyway. Oh, like, go away, get rid of it. And then you might get a crappy call or like 15 stupid emails from a rep who's got bad templates. Bad experience. We're tarnishing the whole thing of gated content within that. It is not about that at all.
Ollie, let me ask you a question here. Is Clubhouse dead?
No, but I deleted it. So have you still got it?
I still have it. I've took some time off during the summer and was just about to start getting back onto it again. I actually was having a conversation. I get involved in a Saturday Clubhouse with a bunch of other sales leaders. But I have access to Twitter Spaces now. And so my question is, what do you think? Should I go Twitter Spaces instead of Clubhouse? Or is that whole audio only format now just it was a blip, it was a fad, and now it's going to fade away?
I quite liked it. It was more the quality of the rooms that I found annoying. So you might join something specific about negotiation, and it gets quite in depth. And I'm all for this. Everybody's got their own rights to learn. And if they're on the platform, fair, kudos to them. But then someone would come in and be like, "What is the best way to win new deals?" And you're like, "What?" That total sidebar, and everybody entertains it for the sake of the engagement, because it is kind of hard to get people really engaged on that. So I really liked it, but it couldn't keep me retained because of that. And as well, the quantity of quality rooms as well, very sparse. I think the one per week I joined was Saturday at 3 p.m. So even that is not ideal for me. I had to leave it.
Yeah, you're right. All right, folks, it's time for Ollie's Rant. Ollie, what are you going to rant about today? I mean, is this live? Is it in recorded again? I don't know. I'm confused. What happens now?
So this is live, and I haven't prepared you. And we did a debate between you and Catherine a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to try something again. Except there's not picking and choosing a side. It's going to make you think on your feet. See if you know how to follow up on the lead. Are you ready, Mr. Prowl?
This is not in the show notes.
And that's why it's such a good idea, right?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's pretend that the drive, this show, is a gated webinar. To use your analogy from earlier, how are you following up on a lead who registers and watches the drive? If you're going to send them an email, what are you saying? Spell it out to me, and I'll give you my version. And we can referee who won, who came up with the better follow-up on the fly. And I confess, I have not pre-thought of what my email will be.
Ollie, this week on The Drive, they talked about tech getting funded. That was announced with press releases containing nothing but buzzwords that made no sense and left me confused and bewildered. Would you rather a simple, point-blank, benefit-driven solution that will solve simple problems for you, such as your reps likely cherry-picking, your reps frustrating you with a lack of activity, your reps annoying you with their inability to engage with prospects on a consistent, repeated basis? I promise no buzzwords. If you want to hear how U.S. Health increased their sales productivity, give me 20 minutes, and I guarantee you that you can leave within 2 minutes if you don't like what you see. What do you think?
Very much like the outro, the 2 minutes thing makes it not a huge ask. 20 minutes I can deal with, but in all likelihood, the calendar invite is 30. 30 is a big ask, but the 2 is no committal. It's good.
Okay, so let me tell you what I did, though. So I opened up with a trigger.
I may have heard of this somewhere before.
I went to a third-party reference. Then I told them, and then I offered to teach them. That was the email I wrote using, in my head, ad hoc, using a TTTT model. Okay, that's my pressure. Your turn.
Okay, turning the pressure on. I'm going to go non-templatized to go on the template v non-template thing from last week or a couple of weeks ago. So something like, Daryl, did you catch the debate at the end of the show on The Drive this week? Line break. We went deep on how to follow up on a lead. Got something interesting you might be... try not to use the word interesting again. I'm going to redo that line. I have a follow-up technique you might be interested in using. Open to hearing some more about it, question mark. I've gone for extreme brevity. No template.
You have. 3 lines versus 4 lines. Still skimmable.
I did the trigger event.
So?
And slightly to tell me, but a little bit more brief. What do you think?
I thought it was interesting. I liked the whole tie into the drive. It was subtle. And that's what I was trying to do as well. You were a little more specific, but it was still good. It was still good. So what's the outcome of this rant? Did we both pass? Did we both suck?
Who wins, in your honest opinion? I think they were pretty close. My bias is mine just because I'm me and you're you. But I think I edged it purely on the brevity. I think I used slightly less words to say very similar to you. But I think maybe you had a bit more of a storytelling angle. You had a bit more embellishment on some of your points. I think it's very close.
So for me, where I think I hit it up, I tied it with the drive, but then I came back in the tell me section with pain points that were very specific and personal to them. Like, oh my gosh, my reps don't do enough activity. I just had that conversation. Oh my gosh, they don't reach out enough. Oh, they so cherry pick. And so I think I had I think mine had a more emotional connection than yours did.
I think you led with pain. I led with a value.
Yes. But you know what I would do?
Have more of a emotional.
I would A/B test them. Because that's the whole point of it.
That's such a marketer's answer, but it's correct.
There we go. Folks, we're out of time. That's it. We're way late. Hope you liked today. It was an interesting one. Different. Wasn't with Catherine. It was with Ollie. And it was good. Surprisingly. Who knew? If you want to learn more about what's going on in the industry, follow us here every week on The Drive. In the meantime, my name's Daryl. That's Ollie. We hang out on LinkedIn, social media, and places that are not reputable. We hope you have fun today. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.